He laughed at me right there in front of my wife. A sharp, ugly sound that sliced through the soft hum of the restaurant. People turned to look. My wife's face flushed pink, her fingers tightening around her wine glass. And I just sat there, frozen, every nerve in my body burning. "Come on, Ethan," Mark said, grinning that smug Wall Street grin of his. "You can't be serious. You think anyone would invest in that idea?" He tilted his head toward me, his tone dripping with condescension. "Stick to your spreadsheets, pal. Leave real business to people who know what they're doing." The table erupted in laughter. Even a few of the wives chuckled, awkwardly, nervously. My wife, Claire, gave a small, strained smile, like she was embarrassed for me. I felt something crack inside me. Mark was her boss, a senior partner at the investment firm where she worked. We were at a dinner he'd invited us to. His way of getting to know the spouses. I should have known better. He didn't invite me to connect. He invited me to humiliate. I tried to keep my composure. "It's just an idea," I said, forcing a smile. "No need to get worked up." But he leaned closer, voice low. "Worked up? I'm just trying to save your wife from watching you crash and burn, buddy." That did it. My wife touched my arm, whispering, "Ethan, let it go." So I did. Outwardly, at least. Smiled. I finished my drink. I nodded politely as Mark bragged about his latest deal. His yacht, his connections. But inside, a storm was gathering. When the dinner ended, I shook his hand, thanked him for the evening, and promised to think about his advice. He smirked like he'd already won. But what he didn't know was that I had no intention of forgetting that night. The drive home was silent. Claire stared out the window, avoiding my eyes. Finally she sighed. "Ethan, don't take it personally. That's just how Mark is." I turned to her. "You're defending him." "I'm not defending him. I'm just saying he's intense. He doesn't mean anything by it." I could hear the hesitation in her voice, the way her tone softened when she said his name. "How long have you been spending time with him?" I asked quietly. She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Exactly what it sounds like." She rolled her eyes. "I work for him. That's it." But I wasn't convinced. Not after tonight. Not after the way he looked at her across the table, like she was already his. Over the next few weeks, that moment replayed in my head every night. Laughter. The look in his eyes. The way Claire defended him. Then small things started to change. Claire worked late more often. She dressed differently. Sleeker, bolder. Her phone was always face down. One night, she came home at 1 a.m., claiming she was at an office party. I could smell the champagne on her breath. That was when I decided I needed proof. I'd built a small cybersecurity startup after leaving my corporate job. So when I say I knew how to track digital footprints, I mean it. I installed monitoring software on our home network, discreetly synced her work phone's data backup to a cloud I controlled, and waited. It didn't take long. 3 days later, the messages started coming through. "Mark. You looked incredible last night. Couldn't stop thinking about you." Claire. "Mark, stop. Someone could see this." "Mark. Then come to my place and tell me that again." My chest tightened. I stared at the screen, reading every word, every timestamp. There were photos too. Blurred hotel selfies, champagne glasses, her smile. I remember laughing. Not from humor but from disbelief. My hands shook. My heart felt hollow. The woman I loved, the woman I defended, was betraying me with the man who mocked me in front of her. For 3 days, I didn't confront her. I wanted to understand why. I wanted to see how far it went. But mostly I wanted to hurt him back. Slowly, methodically, the way he'd humiliated me. Mark prided himself on being untouchable. A Wall Street legend. Ruthless, brilliant, adored by clients and feared by competitors. But I knew something he didn't. His empire was built on secrets. And secrets can burn. I dug into his financials, using contacts I'd built in tech. Offshore accounts, insider trades, misused client funds. It was all there, buried deep beneath layers of digital armor. And I was patient. I spent weeks collecting everything: emails, transaction logs, fake invoices. Then I created a dossier so thorough it would make the SEC salivate. But instead of sending it to them, I sent it anonymously to every major financial journalist in the city. The story broke on a Thursday morning. Wall Street titan under investigation for fraud. Mark's face was everywhere. Pale, sweating, furious. Within hours, his firm suspended him. By the end of the week, he'd been arrested. And Claire. She came home that night trembling. "Ethan," she whispered, eyes wide. "They're saying Mark, he's ruined. They're saying someone leaked everything." I looked at her calmly. "Really? That's terrible." Her voice cracked. "You didn't, did you?" I met her gaze, holding it steady. "What do you think?" She stared at me, realization dawning. Her lip trembled. "You destroyed him." I stood, walked to the window, and watched the rain streak down the glass. "No," I said quietly. "He destroyed himself. I just made sure everyone saw it." She didn't say a word. 2 days later she moved out. I didn't stop her. There was nothing left to say. Months passed. The story dominated headlines. Mark lost everything. His job, his reputation, his penthouse. Word was his wife left him too. I heard he'd sold his cars, liquidated his assets, tried to flee the country before the trial. Last I checked, he was living in a rented one-bedroom apartment in Queens, broke and forgotten. Sometimes I wonder if it was worth it. The revenge. The emptiness that followed. Because as much as I wanted to destroy him, I ended up destroying something else too. The part of me that still believed in love, in trust, in second chances. One evening, months later, I saw Claire again. She was sitting alone at a cafe downtown, eyes tired, hair shorter. She didn't see me. I thought about going in, saying something, anything. But I didn't. I just stood there, watching through the glass, remembering how easily everything had unraveled. Mark mocked me once, in front of her. That laugh haunted me for months. But in the end, it was me who had the last laugh. And it didn't feel like victory. Felt like ashes,